comment, all right? If you had to think about yourself, what kind of a soul do you think you are, right? You don't have to explain why. I can't tell you yes or no, right? Nobody can tell you yes or no. But like, what kind of a soul do you think you are? Let me know. I think it would be interesting. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's video, I guess. So if you followed the video so far, we've been talking about some heavy stuff, right? Some really heavy stuff from self, analyzing yourself, understanding, what kind of personality types you exhibit, into why we have those, and understanding our own ego, and deconstructing the construct, right, of what the ego is as a side effect of having been alive, right? Life experiences generates this construct, and we are actively attempting to deconstruct that, so we can be a more whole, a more complete individual. From there, we also spoke about shadow work, how to do shadow work, the purpose of shadow work, and essentially we use shadow work to deconstruct the ego, right? Up to a point where we are becoming our authentic self, much more our authentic self than the byproduct, okay, of our experiences and observations of the world. So we are not interested in being a byproduct of something, but much rather bringing our own authentic self to the world, right? And then also we spoke about awakening, and we spoke about the spiritual journey. Now, that was all kind of deep and heavy stuff, and it requires us to do a fair amount of work, right, in order to become. Right, we are. Once you awaken, you go on a journey of becoming. Right, and what you are trying to become is you. Okay, because you are worthy, you are good enough, and you have a very unique signature set of skills and set of gifts that you bring to this world, right? And you can only do that once you start living your authentic self. So that was very kind of intense things that we were looking at. So I thought for today we can just do something that's really fun, and I find it rather interesting. So I heard this talk from Linda, I think it's Backman or Bachman, one of the two, probably Backman, right? And she actually speaks about 3 different types of souls that incarnate on Earth, right? So the 3 different types of souls are earthbound souls, angelic souls, and interplanetary souls. So I wanted to just have a nice quick chat about that. Maybe it's something we find interesting, and also maybe it can help you by understanding where you might fall within that spectrum to know what your purpose should be, right? Because that's the hardest thing to find. I always think, and I agree with some guys that I've heard talking about this, that if you really want to know what your purpose is in life, then simply find your highest passion, follow it, and work with it up to the totality of it. Take it as far as you can go, right? And I always like to just add within reason, right? We don't have to necessarily it doesn't have to be a negative experience for anyone else around us, right? So if you want to find your purpose, what is your most highest passion that you have? If you follow that to its totality, that should actually indicate quite clearly what your purpose is in this life, right? Because you came here with that passion built in. It's kind of hardwired, right? And you will notice that people have passions for different things, and there's a reason for that, right? Now, apparently, 95%, so according to this talk that I was listening to, 95% of the people on Earth right now are earthbound souls. Now, make no mistake, right? There's no well, if you are not an interplanetary soul, you're not an angelic soul, then you are some lowly thing. No, okay, it's not about that. But earthbound souls are souls that come to Earth during their incarnation. They incarnate on Earth, and they bring with them things that are actually important for humanity, right? And they will continue working through these things life after life after life until they can bring it to fruition. right? Now, if we look at samsara, if we look at the reincarnation, right, a lot of people would say that it's all about experience, building wisdom, gaining more experience until such a point as you can be released from the reincarnation cycle, right? Now, this looks at it slightly differently, saying that every time when you do pass on, you actually have a choice. Do I want to incarnate somewhere else? Do I want to remain in that energy realm, for an X amount of time or whatever it may be? So whenever we pass on, we go with our guides, and we actually determine what the next life will be, where it will be, and all those kinds of things, right? So earthbound souls are typically souls that have a purpose here, and they continuously incarnate on Earth because of that, right? They want to bring something to Earth. You have just a quick example. You have Amadeus Mozart, right, which was writing compositions when he was 5. It's ridiculous that could even be a thing, right? But it was. So your earthbound souls are kind of souls that have this purpose, this mission, things they need to bring into this world, and they will continue to incarnate until they can do so. And in a lot of circumstances, you might find that these guys, when they come in, they have this natural talent for something, or they actually come in remembering a lot of what they did previously. So these are the prodigies that you see, right? They're just absolute prodigies. From whence they are born, they grow quickly, and they very quickly in life show this amazing aptitude for certain talents, right? And it becomes their career, it becomes their life, it becomes their job, and they just dive into it, and it's their passion, right? So those are kind of like your earthbound souls. Then you have interplanetary souls, and interplanetary souls are souls that are not really equipped to incarnate here on Earth, right? But they have something to offer. And interplanetary souls typically don't offer much. It's not necessarily spiritual gifts, right? It is more something that they simply bring, some new idea that can change the world, right? Some new idea about farming equipment, or how to grow crops, or how to find a cure for a certain disease, or things like that. These guys they are here. They typically struggle to be here, right? And so if my understanding is correct on this, they are very much on the a lot of them are on the autism spectrum, right? So they're not technically prepared to be here, but they have something so valuable to offer that they choose, right, to still come and incarnate on Earth and add that value and still bring value, right? So a lot of guys with autism, they might struggle with 90% of everything on this planet, but there is something, that they are just exceptional at. They are just absolutely geniuses in certain ways, in certain elements, and that essentially allows them to bring something new into the world that hasn't been seen yet. It could even be that somebody with an interplanetary soul could even be somebody that is just exceptional at parenting, right? And they just have this gift for it. They just excel at one or two specific things in life, and they just bring like a whole new level of skill and experience and advancement in those categories, right? So whether you are an empath that can literally read every single person in the room, right, just by looking at them, or if you just excel, you are one of the best motivational speakers that has ever lived, and you never trained for it, it's just what you do, then you could very well maybe be one of those interplanetary souls, not necessarily designed to be here, but you can bring new ways, right, of doing things. So you'll see with your earthbound souls, they have purposes, and they are always striving to fulfill those purposes. They're extremely focused in what they like, what they do, how they want to do things, right? Whereas your interplanetary souls, they are typically just exceptionally skilled at one or maybe two things, right? And they came here to bring a new way, right? Typically things like ways. And the third one is angelic souls. And angelic souls, all right, are souls that, I mean, if you want to put it into words that make sense, they might be more from the divine realms, or they might be more from the higher realms, right? And typically for an angelic soul, they are sensitive people. They hate conflict. They struggle, right, in any kind of situation where there's unfairness, or where there's a lack of compassion, or where, you know, people are acting in a heartless manner. They are very much anti-violence, anti-anything like that, right? And the angelic souls, in a very real way, right, come to support humanity. So they would typically come here to remind people that, you know, let's have compassion for each other. Let's build understanding for one another. Let's make things better, right? Let's support each other. Let's, you know, that kind of thing. So you have these three individual types of souls, and I think it's interesting because if you start looking at it like that, you might say that, oh wow, you know what, my whole life, all I ever wanted to do was tell people, you are loved, you are worthy, to show compassion, right? It's a natural thing that just bubbles up in you, that you can't switch off, right? And even when people do wrong against you, you are just like, you know what, that's okay. I can understand where they're coming from, but rather I want to still show them compassion. I still want to show them love, right? Like, I want to essentially bring love into the world, and I just want people to feel okay. I just want people to be okay. And if you felt that way your entire life, there's a very good chance that you might actually be an angelic soul that has incarnated on earth, right? And if you feel this way, I would gladly invite you to just be you, right? Because if there's one thing the world doesn't have enough of right now, it's love, it's compassion, it's understanding, right? And it's support. We can see from all the mental health statistics, we can see from suicide rates and all those kinds of things, people are feeling very alone and isolated, and people are struggling, right? So it's all, if that is you, if that is how you feel, then I would definitely invite you to please be who you are. Even when you get shunned, even when people don't necessarily can't necessarily accept you for who you are, be that way, because the world needs more of it. So if you feel that way, you might very well be an angelic soul. And then I would say, follow your highest passion. And if your highest passion is to help people, then do so. If you feel that you have a very strong purpose here, like you are one of those people that is constantly, it's like a nagging thing in your mind, you can never silence it, right? That keeps on telling you, I have to find my purpose. I need to understand why I'm here. I don't know what it is, right? But I know that there's something I need to bring into the world. I just have to do it, right? Or even like, I don't know what it is, but there is something, right? There's something in me that needs to get out into the world, right? You are very likely an earthbound soul, right? And an earthbound soul means that you are constantly and continuously, right, reincarnating on earth because you are working towards a goal, right? You've got a very specific goal in mind and you are working towards it, right? And then on the other side, if you are a bit of a loner, you struggle to integrate with people, you struggle to integrate into large groups of people, and you view things very differently than most people. You always have kind of a unique perspective on everything, and also there's certain fields that you are absolutely exceptional in, even though you struggle with mostly everything else, right? There is like this one or two things in life that you just do, and you are exceptional at it, and you are always better than most others that you've met in those specific fields. There is a very good chance that you might be an interplanetary soul. And again, if you're an earthbound soul, I would kindly invite you to start being your authentic self, right? Because you are working towards something, right? If you're an interplanetary soul, again, and you will hear, this is the theme of mostly everything I've ever said, I would invite you to find your authentic self, right? To understand that you don't have to integrate with everything, right? Especially if you're an interplanetary soul. You don't have to integrate with everything. You don't have to be a jack of all trades. You don't have to do those kinds of things, right? Because there is one or two specific things that you excel at, and that if you follow them, right, in totality, then you are going to bring something into the world that hasn't been here before, right? It's never been here before, and you are most likely going to bring it into the world. So to sum it all up, right, there are three types of souls. There's the earthbound soul, the angelic soul, and the interplanetary soul. And the earthbound souls are, that would be most people, right? And by saying most people, it's not like we are shunning most people, right? No soul carries a higher value than another. And that is something that people do, right? They say like, well, if I'm not an interplanetary soul, if I'm not an angelic soul, if I'm not an old soul, if I'm not an awakened soul, then clearly no, you're not. Okay, there's no value assigned to what kind of soul you are or where in the journey you are, right? Please don't think that way. There's nothing wrong with being one type or another type, right? The earthbound souls are arguably the most important souls to have on Earth, right? Because they have purpose, they have set goals, they have things they need to achieve to bring humanity forward, right? The other two types of souls are supports, right? They support this process. So your angelic souls are mostly there just to support the earthbound souls, to remind them, right? Be authentic, be you. You are good enough, right? And to support them in a loving way, right? And to remind them that what you are doing is perfect and you need to keep doing it, right? And interplanetary souls, they are here to bring us new things, right? And they typically have the hardest time, right? Because they are not prepared specifically to be here, but they still chose to go through that difficult life in order to bring something new, right? So earthbound souls, those are the souls that they know, I need to be here, I have things I need to do here, and I'm gonna get them done. Angelic souls oftentimes struggle in any situation that's lacking of compassion and fairness and understanding. But interplanetary souls, I think, they do struggle the most because they're not really prepared to be here, but they do want to bring something to the world. So I think that was very interesting, and I think by understanding what kind of category you fall in, it might actually help you further understand why you are the way you are, and why you do the things you do, and why your passions are aligned in the way that it is, right? Because our passions, we don't really choose them, they kind of just happen. Okay, and that's the soul journey. So when your soul is getting ready to incarnate, you and your guides, you actually decide which that you needed to be here at this time, okay, that the family you needed to be born into, okay, you chose that. So you chose to represent a specific bloodline of human being on this planet, right? So everything was your choices, and along your path you have put in place what I like to call awakening catalyst events, or where there's certain times where we can hit certain awakening events that makes us wake up, right, to the spiritual, which makes us wake up to understanding that there's more than just us out there, right? But by understanding these are my passions, this is what I feel, this is what I want to do, and then saying, oh wow, okay, I'm most likely an angelic soul, I'm most likely an interplanetary soul, I'm most likely an earthbound soul. That might actually help you to make peace and be at ease with who you are and with why your passions are the way they are. Now, of course, one last thing, if we say follow your passions in totality, take them as far as you can. If you can take them absolutely no further, we need to also understand that we need to do this with responsibility, right? We are still responsible human beings. We still harm none, right? Let me get it right. Oh, come on, why is that out of my brain right now? It's one of the first things I learned. Basically, as long as you harm none, do what thou wilt, right? So as long as it won't negatively impact anyone else, then you should be following your highest passions, and you should be pushing them through and seeing them through all the way. Cool. I think we're going to stop there. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I would like to say thank you to all of our new subscribers. I do think that 99% of people out there might not necessarily like this content, might not understand it, might not agree with it. I can see that in the dislikes, right? A lot of people don't like these kinds of concepts, but if you do, and if this is interesting to you, and if this helps you view yourself differently, view your path differently, if it makes it easier for you in any way, then I'm very thankful that you have found this channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, but you do find this content interesting, please do subscribe. It does help with the algorithms and the SEOs and all that kind of stuff, so that more people can find it as well, right? The more subscribers you have, the more views you have, the more likes you have, the more comments you have, the higher you rank. And if you think that this content is worth sharing, please share it with whomever you think can benefit from it. That's going to be it from me, guys. Leave me a comment, all right? If you had to think about yourself, what kind of a soul do you think you are? Right? You don't have to explain why. I can't tell you yes or no, right? Nobody can tell you yes or no, but like, what kind of a soul do you think you are? Let me know. I think it would be interesting. All right, guys, thank you very Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching.